So, it works well. In an interview, try and think around the same way if you can as well. Think about a bit of theatre. I'm not talking about sort of lines you go in, probably not a good idea, but what theatre can you add to it? Add a bit, be enthusiastic without obviously being sort of in anyone's face, and try and leave a positive memory. So there's a mark about what made you slightly different. It might be just your sense of dress, it might be a crazy tie or something you've got on your head, I don't know, a hat. But that's sort of leaving that memory behind. I do remember, this lady does work for us, we interviewed someone, interview went well, good portfolio, seemed all really good, and then about 3 days later I got a tape measure through the post with a sticker on it. It just said, I hope I measured up. And I was like, a bit cheesy, but nice try, good cheap tape measure, I like that. She got the job. So, that's very high speed, few points to talk and think about. And in true form of rolling credits, we'll just run through what we've touched on today. Wear pinstripe, it's you making your mark. Be seen, spelled correctly there, but get involved. It's you getting out and about online, but physically out and about as well as you can. Read 2 books by Paul Arden. That's you not buying 3 drinks tonight, maybe spending a few quid on books instead. And there's something you shouldn't be at the bar. Energy, I'm afraid that's you again. Better than me, you probably already are. Invent your own job, you and maybe a business partner. We are professionals, that's about you and your approach to what you do. We make something new every day, so that's you and your imagination, it's limitless. And create a positive feeling, that's you, your personality, and hopefully the team that surrounds you in the future. Now before I finish, the student once you might have said, that wasn't 9.5 things, that was 10 things. So why did I say 9.5 things? Whoops. 9.5 things, because 9.5 things sounded a bit weird, so I thought you might listen a bit more. Because 10 things, you've got another 10 things up. I'll write 1 to 10 now. You can't write 1 to 9.5. And it kind of was 9.5 things, because the Jess and Sam thing, Jess wasn't qualified, Sam was qualified. You can only decide one route or the other, you can't do both. So that's the half in the halfway decision. So thank you for that. Thank you for listening to, but not necessarily taking this advice. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of real gems in there, Chris. Thank you very much indeed. Well, questions from the floor. Who's got a question?
Can I have the balloons? No. There's enough already.
Or a comment? Don't all rush at once.
32 were killed in a rush.
Chris, maybe just I'll ask a question.
Yeah.
Maybe how did you get into it? Just tell us a little bit about how you
completely by accident. I mean,
yeah.
it's a genuine story. I was originally going to do mechanical engineering at UMIST. I then decided, because I had a girlfriend, she was going to Lancaster and doing biochemistry, so I thought I'd go and do that as well. That was wrong as well. Yeah, step back. And I just couldn't stay with the academic world at all, and it just wasn't me. What's interesting is 72% of Britain's wealthiest people have never been to college. It's a statistic, which is kind of bizarre, isn't it? You look at Mr. Alan Michael Sugar as an example there. So I just decided, no, I was going to get a job. My mates had cars, I didn't. I was getting the bus everywhere, so I thought I'd go and find a job. Sales seemed appropriate. I actually started in a timber company, because it was a friend of my mum and dad's who sort of managed to get me the job, and then ended up in the newspaper. And that's when I suddenly realised, because I think the reason why I was going to do biochemistry, I thought fish farming was a really good way forward. And this is I'm going to give teachers a bit of a hard time for a second now, if that's all right. My biology teacher, I said, I'm going to do fish farming. And he said, what? I said, fish farming. This was in 1976, something like that. He said, fish farming? He said, they need water. They can't put them in a field. I was like, you have no idea what fish farming is, did you? But he said to me, forget it. And I did that time. And how many fish farms we've done in Scotland now? How many tons of salmon? Salmon is not cheaper than cod. So if I'd gone down that route, who knows? I might be living in Scotland right now, I'm not standing here. But yeah, it was just like, I wanted to go and do something different. It's just that when I got into this sector, creative sector, and it changes so much all of the time. In the 15 years we've been doing it, we've got one drawing board left, but that's like in the corner, a museum corner. Macintoshes, when they first came in, my first laptop was seriously that thick and about that big, and it was like a screen on about that size sort of thing. But it changes all the time, so it's quite amazing.
I mean, you had to have a lot of confidence at that point. Do you feel that, I mean, would you have said you were a confident person right from the word go, or was that something you found?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, I've been quite fortunate to feel confident, not necessarily in my own ability. I quite enjoyed presenting stuff and so on and so forth. But I just knew I wanted to do something. I always had that determination. I wanted to run my own business, but I had no idea what it was going to be. And it's kind of, it found me, which I think invariably often happens, doesn't it? It found me, and that was it. There's a guy there.
Yeah.
Did you get into it without any qualifications at all, or did you go back?
Yeah, I've got 1 A level and 7 GCSEs, and they're all grade C. So yes. I've done other stuff since, sort of like night school and institute, Charles Institute and stuff like that. Because I mean, there are aspects where you can't be a solicitor without qualification. Surgeon probably needs to go to university. But there we go. So is that hand up there?
Yeah. Like, no disrespect to your age or anything, but like when
I'm 43. It's just been a hard life.
But when you speak to more people that are in television and things that are more your age, they don't tend to have qualifications. But do you think that times have like moved on because everybody goes to university? So there's so much like I don't know, so much pressure to have it.
Yeah, it's difficult because my daughter is in exactly that sort of position of flux at the moment. She's, yes, I'm going to go to university. Do you know what? No, I'm not going to. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. So that's a really tough one to answer. It will give you the potential advantage over perhaps the next contender. But as I said to you, some of the worst people I've taken on board have had coming out of their ears qualifications. And I was like, why did I take them on board? And I've had people, like Jess coming on board. Now, probably I would say just maybe your career path is not as rapid. But the guys that are coming out of college now saying, I've got this and I've got that, and I'm going to be a film director tomorrow, you're not. You're really not. You still have to work through the ranks, qualified or not. Just the extra bit might help you. I've got 1 minute, I think, is that right?
Yeah.
Jerry, so yeah.
I was actually asking a question, but
sorry.
I think this is good. I think the questions are good.
Yeah. Were there any times that you actually thought that it wasn't going to work for you?
Yeah, when we got the internet wrong first time and lost 2 years' profit in about 6 months. That was a bit scary. And we put a photograph wrong in a B&Q brochure and they refused to pay us 90 grand, which is like all our turnover, so that was a very scary. But it's amazing what you do. You suddenly, you back foot. I just rang up the printer and said, look, I've got no money, mate. I owe you 90 grand. And he went, shit, have you got it? I said, no. I said, can I give you like 10 grand a month for the next 9 months? And we bust a gut to make sure every bit of profit just went straight to this printer. In hindsight, I now wish I'd sued B&Q, but they're big guys, and the big guys just sort of stand there, cracking the knuckles, going to try it on. These days, we do try it on. We'll take on oil companies and stuff like that, but that takes a few years of confidence to build that up.
There's a question.
Yeah. Is age a factor? I mean, I did a biochemistry first year degree and sort of left it, and I've gone through a career of lots of different things. I'd like to get into the creative industry. If I came into your office, would you look at me with my greying hair and think,
No, not at all. No, I don't think that is the case. I think the younger guys are coming up with the fresher, newer ideas, and someone touched on this sort of, call my son in because I can't get the video or the DVD player working and things like that. And their ability, that age group, their ability to just pick up technology and make it work. But I don't think from a creative, and also the one advantage of seniority, if you like, is definitely the management skill side. Without a doubt, that understanding of working with people, I think your people skills are probably more honed and more refined in that respect. And that's an important part because this is a people industry. Like I said before, we don't really kind of make anything tangible as such.
Jeremy.
Yeah, just to pick up on what your point was, which I think is a really interesting point about qualifications. I mean, this is what we're kind of hovering around at. It's a good segue into what I'm going to talk about. But you're an employer, so I mean that's an interesting thing. You in a way aren't somebody at university or college looking at qualifications. I mean, you see people coming in. What is your view? What would you say about qualifications? If you have 10 people coming in for a job, are you, what kind of questions are you asking them? And you talked about a bit there about soft skills. What's the balance for you?
It's difficult because the latest account handler that's just joined our team. She's 26, I think probably not that, say those days. But she's 26, she's a lawyer, or qualified, that's what she did. Couldn't get a job anywhere for love nor money or anything like that, so just took this job as an account handler, oddly enough, in a newspaper, and found she loved it. Now, what her qualification has done is she's incredibly organised and remembers everything, which I suppose is, maybe that's the lawyer training. So it's, you know, arguably, and you could say going back to the sciences, it's the analytical skills of, somehow I'm able to walk into a business and the guy goes, I was trying to do this and I can't do that. So, well, if you did that and did that, and then we distilled that out of it, we could take that as a separate brand, and I try and look at it analytically. So I suppose you could say, if that's the science brain in me being creative, with Nikki, her lawyer skills, the client, she contact reports everything's in writing. You know, she writes it in such a way that if the client comes back, she goes, no, they haven't got a leg to stand on because the way that's written, it's legal. And this is brilliant. So her skills have been adapted to it. And I said to her, you know, would you ever be tempted to go back? She said, well, no, really, this is good. And the pay is actually slightly better than early legal days as well. So,
what you're saying, though, you don't necessarily look for qualifications. It's sort of point I'm getting at.
No, not at all.
It comes from what you're saying.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you look particularly at the business side, not necessarily on the management, account management side, there is, you know, you need to understand and be qualified in .NET and things like that. So, you know, if you're writing stuff for the web, then you have to have that ability, that qualification. It is good to go to college and do design, but you don't have to. You know, did Van Gogh go to college? Did Picasso go to college? And he's making quite a lot of money at his stuff, especially his stuff.
Well, just from a Channel 4 perspective as well, kind of entry schemes with regards to if you're applying for an internship at Channel 4, we actually don't even look at your education or qualifications. We see your name and we really, really do look at your passion, your talent, your creativity to come through by asking you a series of kind of competency questions. So that's something that's not taken into consideration because as much as I have a degree and it's helped me, and I think education does open more avenues for you, actually creativity is more than having that qualification.
Yeah, I think, Chris.
I was going to say, so add to that, there are things, unusual skills, linguistic skills, particularly now we're crossing so many borders as an agency now, so we have French, German, Spanish speakers in the business, and that's very, very useful. But they may have done that from a business perspective in accountancy. It doesn't matter, but the language is actually more useful than the degree, if you like. So it's very useful. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.